let's talk a bit more about this Neocloud before moving on to PyTorch Lightning. There's been press. Specifically, I have this McKinsey article that I'll link to in the show notes for people. I think you're already familiar with it. And in it, it claims that Neoclouds, so kind of bare metal as a service, the economics are fragile and they risk repeating mistakes that happened when AWS was starting to become popular. There were lots of companies that were trying to be like AWS, but smaller over-leveraged players were acquired, sidelined, or forced into niche roles. And so in a Forbes article about the merger with Voltage Park that we have also in the show notes for you, you told Forbes why you shopped around for Neoclouds despite the fragile economics and why in particular you chose Voltage Park. And it sounds to me, from reading this McKinsey article, like all of the things that they're concerned about with Neoclouds, through this merger of Lightning AI and Voltage Park, you avoid all of those issues.
Exactly. So they don't have any debt, which is amazing. And that allows us to do a lot of things that other clouds can't do. The CEO who is running Voltage Park, who's now on our board, he's a finance guy, so ex-finance guy. And so he's very good at like making profitable businesses and being rigorous about that. So I'm excited to partner with him on how do we keep scaling that. And, both our views are that if you want to have profitability in the future, you have to kind of check the amount of leverage that you have in the business. And this means loans and so on. Not all the Neoclouds had the kind of start that we had. And so they didn't have that luxury. And so they had to take out loans. And a lot of those loans depend on your customer not defaulting. It's a bit like a mortgage crisis, really, where if your customers default, and by the way, most of the customers are startups in those companies. In our company, it's not. Like we have some, the Cursors and so on, but these are like high quality companies, right? Like growing super fast. The vast majority of our customers are enterprises with great credit. And so we don't really have that issue, but it takes a lot to sell a Neocloud to an enterprise. You need a lot of security, blah, 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 blah. Things that we've been doing for 6 years now at Lightning. And so we don't really have that problem, right? And so really the thing that we're focused on is how do we make enterprises successful and give them an alternative to the traditional clouds? And also work with them, because a lot of enterprises use all the clouds, including us, right? They use AWS, they work with us, it just depends on the different use cases. So we still partner with those clouds. I think we're more like a hybrid cloud than anything else. And we just happen to have our own supply now of data centers. So just the fundamentals are vastly different. And a lot of these companies went public. A lot of the credits that they need to get loans to build these data centers are based on their market caps, right? Because when you're a public company, what's your credit? It's actually your market cap. And so what's happened in the last 6 months is all the Neocloud prices have dropped by like 60%, maybe more. And so then now the creditors are like, wait, how's your market cap doing? And so, it can, if this continues to happen and it's a little too low, then they're going to get calls on these loans. And then we're kind of actually it's like literally not equivalent, but like it's very similar to a mortgage crisis situation where the banks were over leveraged and the Federal Reserve had to bail them out at some point. And so that probably happens here. We can speculate who that would be, but there are a lot of people who probably be interested in doing that. But yeah, it's a new industry and it needs a bit of a TARP program or like support from big players to help the ecosystem be successful ultimately. So yeah, that's where I think we're at. But I think we're very differentiated in that we have real revenue that's growing extremely fast, extremely high margins, and we don't really have a lot of debt. We'll probably take on debt in the next few years, but like very controlled. And we have enterprise customers.